So this video is going to be a little bit about the pitfalls of the common endurance training model, which is essentially the 80% easy, 20% hard and high volume. Now I'm looking at this obviously through more of a running lens. So this is a bit more nuanced if you come at it from like a triathlon perspective or more of like a cycling perspective. So just keep that in mind as well. So first and foremost, you will have heard this 80% easy, 20% hard rule. Everybody's talking about it. Peter Attia, Huberman, Rogan, Rhonda Patrick, like all these big figures in the health space are advocating for this. Now, it certainly, it works. It works to a certain extent. I think, so first and foremost, to give a little bit of context, this gentleman here, Arthur Lydiard, a Kiwi endurance and running coach back in the 70s, was essentially the pioneer of this concept. So he created it, and he created it for, guess who he created it for? For professional elite endurance athletes doing 20 plus hours a week of training. Now, the sad thing is that somehow this elite training methodology has sprinkled down to amateur athletes, to people that sit at a desk for 8 to 10 hours a day, who only have, an hour or two to get their training in each day. So one of the big reasons this doesn't work is because we for most of us, for most amateur athletes, we're not actually stimulating our system in a way that creates better adaptations, right? Because hybrid training, strength training, running training is all a question of basically maximizing stimulus while reducing fatigue, okay? And so what this 80% zone 2, 20% hard or 20% zone 3 to 5 does is it does a great job at yes, building that aerobic capacity, but it neglects VO2 max work, it neglects skill work, it neglects strength work, all these other things. That brings me to my next point, that is the emphasis on the cardiovascular system in the endurance space, again, for endurance athletes, has been put on a pedestal, and the importance of other really crucial aspects, in my opinion, things like mobility, strength, speed, skill, and even general health. I would love to underline this general health and circle it in big fat red, because these are things that should be in check before we can actually even remotely think of integrating something like an 80% zone 2, 20% zone 3 to 5 in your training. And the reason being is that for a lot of people, doing this is synonymous with running high mileage. So bumping up your mileage over time, your easy miles, to be able to say, do a 100-kilometer ultra marathon. A lot of people and traditional coaches will say, let's work our way up to running between 90 and 110 kilometers in the 6 to 7 days. Now, this is a load of bullshit, in my opinion, and it really deserves to be flicked off, because it's ridiculous. It neglects all these really core aspects that basically create strong, athletic, holistically rounded athletes that I think now more than ever is really, really important. This does not, I'm not speaking about the elite athletes or even the semi-professionals that want to shave off, every second or every possible minute in their races. This, what I'm talking about, is for the 95% or even the 97% of people that are amateur athletes that live normal lives, like myself. I don't train 20 plus hours per week. That's ridiculous. It's unreasonable for most of us. So running, yeah, and again, this comes back to running 6 to 7 days per week. We simply do not need to do this. It's for most people that don't have this in check. Running 6 to 7 days per week is a recipe for disaster. Integrating 80% easy, 20% hard for most people is a disaster, because not only does it slow the adaptations and the actual improvement of your training, it also can create chronic fatigue and just overload the body, because we're pounding the pavement every single day of the week. It's ridiculous. yeah, so that's that last point of I really want to get this point across that it is absolutely not essential to increase your weekly mileage by 5 to 10% each week. I did this for years. It works for a certain amount of time until it doesn't fucking work and it kills your body. It destroys your body. I'm sorry to put it to make it sound so intense and almost over exaggerated, but this is the truth. You can get away with doing this for a bunch of ultras, particularly if you come from like a reasonably good background, you know, in sport or in kind of the hybrid athlete realm. But this over time, if all you do is focus on increasing your mileage and then deloading, increasing your mileage and then deloading, it's not going to end well. Something's going to go pear shaped in your body, and this just, when you look around and you see how many people are injured from running, 50% of recreational runners get injured each year. This right here and this right here, they are two ginormous factors that play directly into the physio's pocket of these people, the 50% getting injured and then visiting the physio, getting some rehab exercises, having a little bit of rest, and then going out and repeating this exact training philosophy. So I think it's time we rethink uh, endurance training and hybrid training in general. This can definitely work, but in small doses. I do not ever just increase my weekly mileage with my clients. I see it's a holistic system. So if somebody is struggling with their sleep, or if somebody doesn't know how to run with reasonably efficient running biomechanics, or if somebody doesn't have a decent baseline of strength or mobility, then we address those things before later down the line we can do a 4 to 8 week block where we gradually increase the mileage with all these things already ticked off. So hopefully that gives you a brief little introduction into endurance training and the common pitfalls. Would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to drop them in the comments if you have any questions. Would love to hear those as well.